Hey everybody, Everett's Live Music doing a shout out for the 420 24 9 a.m. 9 p.m. And for us in the United States of America, this has kind of become like a day for smoking marijuana, maybe the legalization of it, and desire to have it be a freedom of choice. I'm so for it. Freedom of choice. I've had episodes before, some time ago, about freedom of choice and then what we do with certain plants and synthetics that we develop and different things on the planet, right? The concentrates are some of the hardest on our bodies, and sometimes maybe they're actually some of the concentrates maybe for alcohol or something are less threatening to the health of the body, or however you figure this out on your own, or for whatever you look at it from whatever level. I think there are some levels when you get into the crack cocaine and the heroin and different things on the planet. I really like that marijuana has become legal. I like that a lot of stuff is legal. What I think is the worst contributor to problems is perhaps money. And I don't get applauded for that view at all. And I'm actually, I think, sidelined for this. But it is. It's the greatest contributor, and we lack the ability to find a level of equality for pretty much everybody. If you're a junkie, you're a junkie. I think you would fall out of the circle to one degree or another, but to lean on some people that have ever used anything, any substances and stuff, I'm not in favor of it. We all have to show up every day in life to a society that we have developed so long ago, and we're still going with this same development without the ability to evolve to the next level. And with that, I would greatly argue that there's going to be so many different people that are going to react differently to the situations in life that is presented to them on any level. So as I say these things, and then I'm like with the 420 today, I just had a moment, I don't know, within the last half hour. I was going to go back to the grocery store and see if I could grab a couple people to interview, but I only caught 2 kids coming home. They look like high school kids, and I just asked them real quick, do you know what 420 is, the date? And they knew today is 420 for marijuana and stuff. And then they were like, do you smoke? And I was like, I don't really think it's safe anymore for anybody to say whether you do or don't. Even though it's legalized, it's still looked down on, and I don't say this in my conversation to the person. Rather, I just say, well, whether I do or don't, I'm pro-choice. And maybe this is something you could use too for yourself, because I don't understand why we label ourselves, but I do understand the history of some of the substance abuses and different things that have led to some of the great problems with some families and people. And I live in a town where gambling's legal, and there's so many other forms around us, and it doesn't have to be substance abuse, whether it's money, cheating and hurting and lying and stealing. There's so many levels of it. So what I look at it as is an idea of pro-choice. And they said the same thing, and they didn't say they smoked or not, and I don't really care if they did as children, as kids, but I didn't ask them that. The idea was just, how do you think about this day? And it was like weed, smoking. So pro-choice for that. And then I say, what about 422? What about that date? Does that date ring a bell? No, not at all, dude. But the 420 hit the bell right away. And 422 is going to be Earth Day, dude. Started back in 1970, we know, by the Wisconsin senator, first name Gaylord, I don't remember his last name at this moment, but that's kind of cool. That was back, and I mentioned. I'll mention, that same amount of time. That's the Clean Water Act was coming through, and we had the Safe Drinking Water Act that would follow after that. It was back in the 40s. We took the metals out of water because I work in water, so let's go back there. And also in the 70s we got rid of the lead and the paint and stuff. But the 40s was metal. If you go far enough back into the early 1900s in Niagara Falls in Cleveland, we introduced chlorine. Potassium permanganate has been used through the processes. But to clean our systems up from a system and a way of life is what I'm talking about, man. And I know 420 is really cool to me because that's a plant on the planet. And when you grab it in its raw form and you just grab the flower, right? And you do what you will with that, I'm so for it. And if it helps you to feel maybe, a little different, I've never felt any of that should ever be something that divides any of us in life. But it has been a way of life that we've built around us where if you use anything and it's not been prescribed by some doctor, then, are you still able to process information and make decisions and communicate with others on the level of some of the what they would say are the other people that don't do anything? But nobody is I don't think sober. These are easily argued conversations, and quite often there's people that don't do anything. And if they did try to smoke marijuana, right, they would feel so different that it would just, I guess maybe it makes them feel uncomfortable. Then don't do it. Does anybody ever think that sometimes some of us do things and some of us have certain symptoms and certain you're diagnosed with this kind of disorder or this or that just because of the way we live? Because we live for $1. And without some kind of a crutch to lean on, somehow genetically inside your body, the way you have been wired through your DNA and the history of who you are, perhaps, right? Right down to all of it. Not one bit of that wiring had to do with money, but we are forced into the money. We are forced to learn a way of life that is measured by the dollar. So I will preach this again and again. It's not like I think it should all go away, but I think it's really unfortunate that I am not received as well by the adults sometimes. More often it's the children. And more often this last week, I put out one shout out already about the Earth Day coming. It's the children that know Earth Day's coming. It's not the adults. Because we've all been, even my age, I've been hardwired into the idea, get a job, you pay your taxes, you pay your bills, and I do all those things. Maybe I get it behind once in a while like everyone, but I'm not way behind. And I struggle, and I perform a job in my community that provides public health. So I just dare to tear at so many different angles of what we do every day and how we get so wrapped up into some politician's opinions and then we're yanked one way and then back the other. And, and while this is all happening, we're being tossed back and forth. Here comes this new levels of technology. We haven't voted for any of this. I don't believe, not to my knowledge, any of these technologies and these new way of lives that will be imposed onto each home, as has been the computer and that you have to have a cell phone, that you have to have all these other devices. And now is going to come the AI and the robots. All that's being just pushed on us. We're not voting. I dare to ask why. I dare to ask why we have so much waste, so many different products. Why are we not more directed in a path as a people to use less and make more with it? And you could say that it like leads us to some socialist or communistic way, but it's really silly, man. If you can make one thing or do things, you would go to that area of who we are, and we make these things, and we make it happen that way, rather than all this competition and fighting one another all the time, because so much of it leads to this division, and we're all walking on eggshells at times, or you're watching your back, or because we've developed a society where the dollar's going to manipulate you one way or another. Whether it's used for punishment or it's really sad to me that like how we've let it happen, but we haven't evolved, and I'm just wondering about that on this 420, because with anybody with perhaps it was a psychedelic mind that decided to. I don't totally agree with it. I dare to think different, and I don't think those things have been the problems. I mean, way back, man. If you go back in the 1900s, like early 1900s and stuff, right? And hemp was around for marijuana. It grew naturally in North America, I believe, right? For the natives and what have you. I don't think it was the same kind of marijuana that was growing further south at the moment. Like many of the things on the planet, we moved them around, but we decided at one point or another, somebody must have got a hold of marijuana at that time, right? They smoked it, and they were like, oh no, it's got to be the worst thing ever. And if you could really just look at history that way, right? Take a moment today, think about that. And that's when we started developing synthetics, nylon, and different things started coming down the line further on, it was into the 40s, then the 50s, right? And they're like, oh, the marijuana, you're psycho. Whatever they did to just make it such an evil thing. I mean, remember, there's nothing on the planet, man, that's like that. It's just not. It's here for a reason. It's a very fibrous material to begin with. So strong when woven together properly and used. And it leaves no waste behind. It's not a plastic. It's not a poly. It's just natural. And we have to see our mistakes through our history and recognize them for what they are. Do a little history on it, man. Check out some people with grand mal seizures. The people that go into the really bad ones, and just look it up. Look it up on your end, man. What happens to some of those people and how they can't find a way to subdue the seizure from coming. And when it comes, how do you treat it? We've tried so many synthetic drugs. I believe like some that were used on horses and different things. And it was a failure. And when marijuana was used as a drug, it became so useful. And it had great results. Please, as a people, and as Earth Day comes, quit thinking that you got this one answer for one thing, and I mean, we're all trying to understand. But when you see that, I check the video out, man. You might, even an adult, a grown man would cry if he's ever seen a child or someone in his family suffer from something so bad, and find that, hey, man, it was here all along. Just chill, dude, and let's try and find the best way to some of the answers that we can find through our days as they come to us. And then they go away from us, and we look on our history and find our mistakes, and we're not scared of them. We accept them, and we just try to make progress, advancements, and accept different people for who they are, and start to see this world and the way we've built it around us, this systematic integration of people like robots, but now they're building robots and they're bringing AI. So what happens to us? The unfortunate reality for me is I don't get many hits back. Nobody's answering back, and I think I'm bringing a really great level of questions and scenarios and moments that you could question. I've left myself open at sometimes, and you could just say I was wrong, and I'd be so all right with that, because that's how we need to be. But when it's taken from us and used by someone else, and then if you haven't been there and you're making decisions for people, and you let's really try to look towards the 22nd of April, as well as today being a day of freedom, where 26 states now and a couple territories, right, territories, I believe they recognize them as, however you find it out to be, but over half of the United States is allowing recreational use of marijuana. I don't see the problem with it. Abuse with things is there for everything, and in a way of life that puts us against one another on competition every day of our lives. For I can do more for less, and I can do it faster, and that's somehow a better way of life. And that doesn't have anything to do with using marijuana to be like, oh, hey man, I'll get there when I can. But more of a life where we're just geared towards helping one another, rather than just trying to make as much money as we possibly can off of one another and run the next advertisement campaign that is going to definitely bring in more profits for that company and shut down the other advertising company, or whatever it might be that you're in competition against one another for. Where is the beauty in that? Fighting one another every day on every level of life, and then daring to say that something like that's happening in Israel and over there in Palestine and over there in Russia and over there in Ukraine is some kind of absurd action, when we do it all every day of our lives. I dare for someone to speak back. I don't know as though I'll get it, but I'm definitely firing from the hip tonight again. And I canceled out a message some time ago for the it was the women. It was around that March Madness thing. But check out the movie like Blue Chips. It's a really good movie with Nick Nolte and some basketball players. But I mean, just our lives, man. Come on, man. Somebody fire back. This is drab, and this is bunk, and this is not... We know it's not right. But happy 420, dude. I love choice. I am so pro-choice for it. I don't think there's anything bad about marijuana. Everything could be abused. So whatever you do to it, I don't know, and how much you use it, whatever. But man, for the where we've come now with it, I believe is good. To have the pro-choice, and there's so many conversations that need to be had, and I just want to say peace out.